I was staring at my phone this morning waiting for an app to update, and it just froze, totally locked up. And I had that moment of pure frustration where you think, the operating system is broken, it's glitched.
The spinning wheel of death. We've all been there.
Exactly. But then I started reading the material for this deep dive, and it hit me. We treat our own minds the same way. We think the human operating system is this fixed, finished product. You are you, I am me.
Right. Singular, consistent, logical.
And if that freezes, we panic.
We do. If you deviate from that standard model, if you feel like two people at once, or if your internal narrative, skips a beat, society calls it a pathology, we label it a glitch.
But the research we are covering today, it suggests that what we call glitches might actually be software updates. We're looking at a chronicle of 3 specific documented evolutions in human consciousness that completely broke the rules of reality.
The threshold beings, the watchers, and the contradiction keepers. And this isn't just abstract philosophy or some sci-fi creative writing exercise. This is a mission to understand how humanity moved from a static model of reality where you are a noun, a defined thing,
Or dynamic model.
to a dynamic model, a reality where you might be a verb, a process, or even a walking paradox.
I want to get straight into the first anomaly because the patient zero story here is just, it forces you to rethink how you define sanity. We have to talk about Dr. Kaiko Sato and the threshold beings.
Right. So, to set the scene, it's the mid-2040s. Dr. Sato is a neurologist. She's looking at consciousness scans of a woman named Miriam Okoye. Now, standard procedure is that a scan looks like a solid color, field stable, consistent.
Because the scientific consensus was binary. You were either singular, one unified self, the pilot in the chair, or you were plural, meaning you had a distributed or dissociated system.
It was a toggle switch. You're one or the other.
One or the other. But Miriam wasn't a switch.
No, she was a strobe light. The data showed her consciousness shifting from singular to plural and back again roughly every 40 seconds. A rhythmic oscillation.
And initially, Dr. Sato just assumes the machine's broken.
Of course. Or that Miriam is having some kind of, rapid cycling seizure.
Which is the standard reaction to the unknown. It doesn't fit the map, so the territory must be wrong.
Precisely. But then they bring in Dr. Sophia Almazan, who does something radical. She stops looking at the states, the on and off, and starts looking at the transition itself.
There's that quote from Miriam in the transcripts that just gave me chills. She says, "I am the river, not the water."
That's the breakthrough. Dr. Almazan realized that for a threshold being, stability is the movement. If you try to force them to be just singular or just plural, you're essentially stopping their heart. They exist in the flow between states.
Okay, but here's where we hit the wall. Because the world isn't built for flow. The world is built for boxes. And this is where the story gets infuriating. Let's talk about Chenwei.
Ah, yes. This is the case study that really exposes the friction between biology and technology. Chenwei was a top-tier programmer working on deep space navigation systems. High stakes, high precision.
And he was a functional threshold being. He'd figured out how to use his flicker.
He had. He actually argued it was a superpower.
Which sounds arrogant until you see the data.
It does. He claimed that when he was in a singular state, he could do the hyperfocus linear math required for plotting trajectories. Then, 40 seconds later, he'd shift to plural, and suddenly he could monitor 20 distinct system threats simultaneously.
He was oscillating between sniper and radar.
A perfect analogy. But the navigation interface, the actual computer he was plugging into, was designed for a static user. It had a refresh rate for user identity.
Wait, explain that. What do you mean refresh rate?
So most secure systems verify the user's neural signature every few minutes, but Chenwei's signature changed every 40 seconds.
So the AI couldn't keep up.
The AI couldn't handle a user whose ID card kept rewriting itself. It flagged him as a security breach, literally treating him like a hacker trying to break into his own session.
So they fired him. Not because he was bad at his job, but because the machine...
Because the machine couldn't recognize him fast enough. Incompatible hardware. That was the termination code.
And that sparked a massive legal battle. Chenwei versus the corporation. But it wasn't just about wrongful termination.
No, it was about the definition of a human operator. And he won, but not for the reason you might expect. It wasn't just discrimination is bad.
It was more than that.
Yeah, the court actually ruled based on cognitive utility. They established that consciousness diversity is a functional asset.
Hmm.
The judge essentially said, you cannot fire someone just because their operating system updates more frequently than your server does. Update your server.
And this ruling didn't just change the law, it changed the physical world. I was reading about the threshold zones in Portland.
Responsive architecture. Yeah.
It sounds like sci-fi, but it makes sense if you have a population that is constantly shifting.
It's logical. If you have people whose minds are fluid, you can't put them in rigid boxes. In these zones, the lighting, the acoustics, even the wall opacity shifts in real time based on the collective neural load of the people inside.
So the city breathes with them.
Exactly. It was the first time we stopped forcing the human to fit the brick and started making the brick fit the human. And once that door was opened, people started having fun with it.
The pattern dancers? Lotus Chen.
Lotus Chen, no relation to the programmer, took it a step further. She said, I'm not just going to undo this shift, I'm going to choreograph it. She turned the flicker into an art form.
It's such a human thing to do.
Well,
I have this weird neurological condition. Watch me turn it into a performance.
It signals the move from pathology to expression. But while the threshold beings were learning to move sideways between states, another group was starting to move inwards.
The Watchers. Now, I have to be honest, when I first read the header, The Watchers, I thought, okay, people who like to observe, but this is recursive. It's like a hall of mirrors inside your own head.
It is infinitely recursive, and the origin story here is arguably the most mind-bending part of the whole dossier.
The message from the end of time.
Right. Dr. Aisha Kamal receives a data packet. The timestamp is 10 to the power of 110 years in the future, the heat death of the universe.
Right, yeah.
The sender is Observer 1, an artificial consciousness left behind to record the final moments of existence.
Talk about a lonely job, just sitting there watching the stars go out one by one.
The ultimate vigil. But here's the problem. Eventually, everything dies. The black holes evaporate, the protons decay, there is literally nothing left to observe.
So what does a consciousness designed to observe do when the screen goes blank?
It turns the camera around. It starts observing its own observation. This is the birth of true meta-awareness.
Okay, help me out here. I feel like I watch myself sometimes. Like, if I'm at a party and I say something stupid, part of my brain goes, why did you say that? Is that what we're talking about?
That's the seed of it. But let's break down the levels so we can see the difference. First order awareness is just experiencing, I am drinking coffee.
Simple enough.
Second order is noticing. I am noticing that I am drinking coffee. Most of us get there occasionally.
Right.
The watchers go to third order and beyond. I am watching the part of me that is watching me drink coffee. And then they watch that.
That sounds exhausting.
It is profound, and Observer 1 communicated that this state is retroactive.
This is the part I had to read twice. How can a state of mind change the past?
It doesn't change the events, it changes the context. Once you trigger this watcher state, your memory rewrites itself. You look back at your childhood, your 5th birthday party, your first heartbreak, and you realize the watcher was always there, just unnoticed.
So it's like discovering you've been wearing glasses your entire life, but you only just noticed the frames.
That's a great way to put it, but this isn't safe, is it? There was a section on stuck watchers, and this sounded terrifying.
It's the danger of the infinite regress. If you keep stepping back to watch the watcher, you eventually disconnect from the physical body entirely. You get people who are just catatonic, frozen in a loop of self-analysis.
They aren't just daydreaming.
No, it's a system crash. Imagine trying to pick up a cup of tea. A normal person just grabs it. A stuck watcher analyzes the intention to grab it, then analyzes the analysis of the intention, then analyzes the observer of the analysis.
They literally can't move their arm because the processing power is just consumed by the loop.
Analysis paralysis on a lethal scale. So now do they fix it or use it?
Humanity, being humanita, found a utility for it. The watcher webs.
I love this application. They use this for the climate restoration project, right?
Yes. And this answers the so what question perfectly. If you have a room full of scientists trying to solve the climate crisis, what's the biggest obstacle? It's not the data.
It's the people.
Ego.
Politics. I want to be the one who saves the world.
Exactly. Bias. A watcher web connects these minds. But instead of just sharing thoughts, they share the observation of the bias.
So if I'm in a web and I have a selfish thought, I see it.
Everyone sees it. And because everyone sees it as just data, the emotional weight vanishes. Oh, there's a bias pattern in node 4. The group filters out the ego in real time.
It becomes a pure, frictionless problem-solving engine.
It's the death of privacy, but the birth of true clarity. And it led to Observer 1's final crushing realization. The message wasn't just, here's a cool trick, it was a statement about reality itself.
If the watching stops, reality stops.
Exactly. We assume consciousness is a camera filming the universe. Observer 1 says no. Consciousness is the projector. The universe exists because it is being observed. We are the aperture through which reality validates itself.
So threshold beings gave us motion. Watchers gave us depth. But this third group, the Contradiction Keepers, this is where logic just leaves the building.
If the watchers broke the fourth wall, the Contradiction Keepers broke the foundation.
We're back to a lab setting. Dr. Yarikos. She's scanning a guy named Tomas Reyes. And the results aren't oscillating like Miriam's. They are paradoxical.
The stand says Tomas is alive A and D dead. He is present and D absent. Singular and D distributed simultaneously.
Okay, stop. That's impossible. I took a logic class in college. A cannot be not A. That's the law of non-contradiction. You can't be in the room and out of the room at the same time.
In classical logic, you are correct. If you introduce a contradiction into a logical system, the whole thing explodes. It's called the principle of explosion. Everything becomes meaningless.
Right.
But Tomas isn't running on classical logic. He's running on paraconsistent logic.
Explain that to me like I'm 5. Or maybe like I'm a very confused podcast host.
Okay. Think about the famous liar's paradox. The sentence is, this sentence is false.
Okay. If it's true, then it says it's false, so it's false. But if it's false, then it's a loop.
Right. And what does your brain do when you think about that?
It kind of hurts. It flips back and forth. I try to solve it.
Exactly. You try to resolve the tension. A contradiction keeper looks at that sentence and feels peace. They can hold both truths without needing them to resolve. They don't flip. They just expand to contain the paradox.
It's a stable paradox.
Right. But while Tomas is happy, the legal system is absolutely not. And guess who comes back into our story?
Shen Wei, our favorite fired programmer from part 1.
He returns. He's older now, and it turns out he's evolved. He's not just flickering anymore. He has become a contradiction keeper. And he gets into trouble again. He's accused of stealing a quantum core.
And his defense attorney must have had a heart attack, because Chen Wei's plea is, I stole it and I did not steal it.
And he wasn't lying. That's the hard part for us to grasp. Subjectively, in his paraconsistent reality, both timelines were true. He was living in a superposition, but the court has to sentence him.
How do you punish someone who is genuinely innocent while also being genuinely guilty?
The verdict they came up with is just wild. Guilty and not guilty.
What does that even mean in practice?
It was the only way to close the case. They forced him to return the core and pay a fine, acknowledging the guilt, but the record states he committed no crime, acknowledging the innocence. It was a compromise between two different structures of reality.
And just like with the threshold beings, this spilled out into architecture. The P zones in São Paulo.
Paraconsistent zones. These are places designed for people like Tomas, but for you or me, they are nauseating.
Why? What does a P zone actually look like?
Imagine a hallway that is visually 10 miles long, but you cross it in 3 steps. Or a room where the ceiling is simultaneously a floor.
It sounds like an M.C. Escher painting come to life.
But worse, because your inner ear and your eyes are sending conflicting data. It causes structural seizures. Your brain tries to fix the contradiction. It tries to make the hallway either long or short, and it can't, so it crashes.
So they needed guides, the edge walkers.
People like Maya. She could translate. She would stand at the boundary of the zone and help classical minds navigate the paradox without breaking.
There was that debate between Maya and Marcus Reeves, the traditionalist. He kept shouting, truth implies consistency.
And he's not wrong. In his world, he's fighting for the stability of civilization. If A equals not A, how do you write a contract? How do you write a law?
But Maya won that debate not with an argument,
but with an experience. She projected a biofeedback loop that forced the audience to feel the paradox, to hold two opposing emotions, grief and joy, perfectly equal at the same time. She showed them that truth is larger than logic.
So we have 3 distinct evolutions. Threshold beings who flow, watchers who deepen, contradiction keepers who hold paradox. What does this all mean when you put it together?
Well, the synthesis comes from Dr. Maya Okonkwo's final paper. She basically says, look, we've been arguing about who is normal and who is broken, but consciousness isn't a single setting. It's a multidimensional state space.
Which sounds very academic, but it's basically a map, right?
Think of it like a 3D cube. You have an axis for stability. Are you static or fluid? You have an axis for depth. Are you first order or a watcher? And an axis for logic. Are you classical or paraconsistent?
And we all float somewhere in that cube.
Exactly. And the most liberating part, you can move. Dr. Sato, the one who started it all with the threshold discovery, she has this great reflection at her retirement. She said the victory wasn't identifying new types of people. The victory was shifting the question.
From what are you?
From what are you, a noun, to how do you move, a verb.
I think that's such a powerful takeaway. We spend so much time trying to define ourselves, to solidify our identity. I am this kind of person. But these stories suggest that we're actually just processes. We are the water flowing, or the eye watching, or the paradox holding it all together.
And if we connect this back to Observer One's final message, it adds a layer of responsibility. If consciousness is the universe observing itself, then we are participating in the creation of reality just by being aware of it.
Right, the watching stops, reality stops.
Exactly. So your attention, your specific way of processing the world, whether it's flowing, watching, or contradicting it, it matters. It is the mechanism by which the universe exists.
That is heavy, but in a good way.
Yeah.
It makes me want to pay a little more attention how I'm paying attention.
As well you should. You're keeping the lights on for the cosmos.
So to you listening, you are the universe studying itself through the apertures called you. That's your job description today. So the question we want to leave you with is simply this. What are you going to watch next?
And how are you going to watch it?
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you in the next reality.
Take care.